Hey everybody, how are you doing? Welcome to Friday. Um, so yeah, it's summertime, so it's a little informal here. Okay, so what we got going on? First of all, I want to tell you that I have selected actually a story that'll be next assignment, and that means that Shannon, congratulations, will be getting extra credit. And So anyway, and actually, it's a hard choice to make, and it's not necessarily based on like who's better than what or whatever, but it's basically the idea is that it's something I would consider newsy, timely, and something I feel like you could do in a week or less. Actually, it'd be 7 days or 6 days. Um, so actually 5 days. I'm sorry, but anyway. Um, So the story is going to be, actually I'll show you right here. It's going to be on the, oops, so I'm in the wrong spot. I am sorry. Do that. Here we go. Okay. It's going to be students' reaction to Rutgers banning tobacco products in January. So Rutgers is actually banning tobacco products in January. Rutgers is ahead of a lot of people in these respects. They were the first ones to require people to get vaccines, the whole thing. Now they're actually going to ban essentially smoking and everything on campus. So basically, what I'm asking you guys to do is just go out and interview 3 to 5 students. Like I say in this video here, and there's going to be a discussion point on this, so I'll help you out. But let me know if you need any help, if you want to talk to students or whatever. Like I said, I've created a discussion point, which is right here. What is your opinion of Rutgers' plan to ban tobacco products in 2023? And basically repeats it here. Let us know in the comments and feel free to provide an anecdote, your personal experience. And actually, one thing I should actually add to this is that it is essential to participate in this for your class participation grade. Remember I said before that, with an asynchronous class, you can't really do much about, having class participation. So you do what you can with what you have. So basically, this is something you should know, that everybody really needs to participate in this and provide your opinion. You put your source hat on here, okay, and participate and provide your opinion. And now I have a note. I basically, I pose a question here, but this again, I know a bunch of you actually are not even in this country or even in the area. So I know it's difficult for you. So that's why I'm asking you to rely on the discussion point. I did this last semester when I had students in China and elsewhere who were, we had a story about crime on campus, and many people from way outside of New Brunswick did a great job on it because they relied on the material. The reporting essentially is done for you. You just need my goal here is just to get the writing down and get the structure down. Okay, so it's important to know for international students and everybody else for that matter. This is where the discussion point I posted is going to be incredibly important. I'm going to need all my students to participate in this and provide feedback on the discussion points, since not everybody's on campus or even near campus to write the story. And actually, it's also summer, so you may not even be on campus at all. Please see the discussion point, okay? As I note in the syllabus, this is another story. It's 500, 800 words. Theme the story around the central prevailing consensus opinion with a declarative sentence in your lead. Use something as simple as Rutgers students say they're pleased with the university's decision to ban tobacco products. I mean, it could be that, or perhaps it's a more consensus opinion is more mixed. You have to basically, it's not like a poll, okay? You're just basically taking like a students to provide some sort of mirror on how this is provided on campus. It's not scientific, but it's some sort of mirror, some sort of glimpse into how people are reacting to this among the Rutgers community, I should say. Okay. Rutgers students say they have mixed opinions about the banning of tobacco products on campus, saying the decision infringes on people's rights. Some saying, I should say. I mean, that could be like, if you have a mix, if you have basically a division, if you have people who like it and people who don't like it, you basically, that's your mixed opinion, okay? It's basically as simple as that, okay? Okay, so let's actually, another thing, I hope you stick around and watch this video, because I'm also going to talk about the worksheets. Probably give away some answers there. If you want to really look at it, that'd be really, make sure you pay attention to this. I'm not going to have any book stuff, any stuff from the book in this video. Okay. Okay. So like I said, let's say you have Rutgers students say they like, maybe most of the people you interview say they like the ban on tobacco. So again, trying to follow an order here, what I would say is essentially using transitions and anecdotes to effectively put your point across. And please, on the discussion point, when you put on your source hat, please provide personal anecdotes about how you might be personally affected by this or not, okay? So basically your first transition could be something like, basically you have to break down this larger point and break it into smaller points that help illuminate the larger point, okay? Some students, so you go into the who, what, where, why, when. Some students say they're pleased with this decision because they're sick of being in places where people smoke. Maybe it's more than just a health thing. It's just that they just hate breathing in the stuff, and then maybe provide an anecdote. John Brown says he hates walking into Miller Hall. So this is like breaking it down into even more granular detail that helps illuminate these larger points. Why they don't like breathing in. Sick of smelling it. Place, gotta be more specific place where people smoke. John Brown says he hates walking into Miller Hall because people are smoking right outside the front door. I don't know if that's true or not. Okay. Going on old memory here. So basically you have, again, an overall theme. Rutgers students say they like the ban on tobacco. Maybe add a little bit of an angle to this, saying the general reason why, okay? To break it down to smaller points, a lot of them just don't like smelling in places where people smoke. And then an anecdote that provides some personal experience. John Brown says he hates walking into Miller Hall because people are smoking out his front door. He says he gets the smell on his clothes. So that's the real reporting here. This is where we really get inside and get really inside the story and really get to almost be there with the people as they're feeling the experiences, as they're reacting to the experiences. Okay. And we really get a sense, we really get like some sort of relatable feeling here, I guess, how people feel about this. Okay. And this is usually maybe a good place for a quote. Okay. My clothes are always in the washing machine. Something colorful. You notice I'm relying on paraphrasing here. You're going to be provided information that's to be provided. You're going to probably be compelled to put it in a direct quote. But as I've said before, actually, it's much better to paraphrase. Much better to use your own words to interpret what they're saying. And then the quote is something usually quick and quippy. Okay. All right. Then you go to another point. Transition. Another one is obviously the other students say they just want a healthier campus community, on both ends. They don't want to breathe it in, and they want the other students to be healthier. Okay. And then you break it down in even smaller detail. Okay. Anecdote. Jane Brown said smoking kills people, especially the secondhand. So, okay. And then a quote. Okay. And then you kind of rinse, repeat, and go through it like that. And this is how you do. It's not typically straight news story. This is just basically it's straight, but basically it provides the information you need to know, but it provides essentially a follow-up to the larger story, the announcement that they actually did ban smoking, and it gives people an idea like how people feel about it. So this is news, okay? Maybe we don't have an idea. I haven't seen a story basically about it talks about how people feel about it. So, all right. This is the kind of thing that's typically done when there's like a larger story that's going on campus, and sometimes you'll see like if there's like a big story, you'll see like the news people come around and basically like bug people. They'll try to get a reaction. And actually, that's why I'm going to show you something right now goes back a ways. And you'll see, as I was talking in the last video, I was talking about how the in TV, then it's actually typically it's the news reporters who actually do the transitioning. They basically help bring you from piece to piece, part to part, new detail to back up the larger theme. Okay. And now this isn't necessarily the best example of that, isn't necessarily the best written piece, but I thought it was relatable because it comes from 1988, and it was a little bit of surprise in here, by the way. And also, basically it talks about something that's happened at Rutgers. Unfortunately, it's a tragedy. So what happened was in 1988, there was like a 19-year-old student who died from drinking too many kamikazes during a pledging ritual at Lambda Chi Alpha fraternity that's now long gone. This house is now actually where the Kabod House sits on campus on College Avenue. So anyway, so what you'll see is you'll actually see the report. First, you'll see like the actual update to the actual story, which is news. But then this is news too. What they do is actually go to the campus and see how the reaction is going, how people feel about it. And that's an important story to tell, because what it does is it kind of opens the door and makes the story, gives it what they call legs. It gives it like a bigger angle, gives it basically a bigger landscape to look at it. And basically it gives people an idea like how concerned should I be about this. It gives people maybe who are thinking about sending their children to this school, like, is this the right decision to make? It also may even present it as something that maybe where people feel like it's maybe, I don't think in this case, but in blown out proportion. Okay. But you'll see actually the reporter will do the transitions, essentially bringing you from point to point to back up the larger point. And basically, she basically makes Rutgers out to be like some crazy place. And although the times I've shown people this video since then, I've gotten people basically saying, well, actually things haven't really changed. But then she'll actually go to students to talk to them. And then the students essentially will provide the anecdotes. They're actually essentially providing quotes at the same time, but they're providing those anecdotes that provide you, to give you the idea of like what it's like to actually be on the university dealing with this problem. Okay. So here is the video. Okay.
Medical tests are still being conducted on the body of a Rutgers University freshman to find out if he drank himself to death at a fraternity pledge party. News 4's Perry Phelps visited the campus today. At first glance, this fraternity looks like any other on the Rutgers University campus. But a closer examination.
Again, that's where the Kabod House is. You're not going to organize that that house. Again, what the reporter here actually doing is providing kind of a long lead, essentially like setting the stage. Okay.
Reveals the remnants of an all-night pledge party that has closed the Greek house of Lambda Chi Alpha, a pledge party that has left freshman James Callahan dead, apparently from drinking too much, and another student treated at a nearby hospital for alcohol-related illness. The university is.
Okay, so not quite to the student reaction yet, but we do have a university administrator.
More because of it. Terrible situation, terrible incident. And it's one that I think process and think carefully about the information.
Okay, now she's going to provide essentially the lead to her story.
Callahan was one of 13 students who had been invited to join the all-male fraternity. According to one student, pledges were told to drink until they got sick. And evidently, that's not an uncommon sight around the university.
And there's your reaction, basically. Students say, and you got to make sure you attribute this, because this is actually going to be group attribution. Students say, you're not going to have like people, this one person says, or this one person says, but you may have to make sure, and I've seen that in your story so far, you need to attribute more often. You got to make sure that like you have, the students are saying, the larger transitions, the point when you go from point to point. Okay, you got to make sure you attribute it to them.
I think a lot of people get very drunk. I think if you ride a campus bus on a Friday or Saturday night, you see people getting sick on themselves. You see people passing out. I think it's a big problem.
It's widespread throughout the campus, whether in fraternity and
yeah, it's me.
Arms or wherever. And I don't know how they're going to stop it.
Callahan.
I was a bit misquoted there, but anyway. I mean, well, out of context a little bit, but anyway. Now she's going to actually transition to another point. Okay.
And the rest of the students pledging the fraternity were all under the legal drinking age of 21, a legal limit that students admit is easy to get around. and a problem school administrators acknowledge.
We try and encourage students to run non-alcoholic parties. We have enforcement regulations and policies, but peer pressure is still very, very strong. Combating all of those efforts that we may take.
Fraternities will almost become like drinking clubs now. So that I think it was not about time something like this happened. I wish it had been something where it was just a shock. But maybe this will just change so the atmosphere of fraternities here to clean up their act.
Do you think it's going to change partying habits here at the school?
I don't think so. Not on a long-term basis anyway. I think that for a while things will slow down and then they'll get back to the regular behavior, basically.
And after the fact at Lambda Chi Alpha, all fraternity and sorority parties have been temporarily banned. Harry Peltz, News 4, New Brunswick.
Okay, so there you go. There's your, there's basically a reporter on the broadcast side of things and how they effectively, oops, you shouldn't know that. The transition, I haven't updated that yet. I haven't done that in a couple of days. Anyway, you should, that's how they basically help guide the reader along, okay? So this story is going to be due on June 15th, and I have that actually in the assignment, but I want to make sure you all got like what you're supposed to get in. I didn't actually get this from everybody. I should have gotten this from everybody. It's also part of class participation, but you know, I wanted ideas for the assignment. Not everybody sent one in, so that was due on Thursday, but Friday is the rewrite of your profile assignment. I see notice that some of you have actually already submitted that. Thank you for that. Everybody should have gotten their assignments back, and well, I say you will be getting additional markup. You actually got the additional markup from Corinne, except for one of you actually put your rewrite in the original, so she wasn't able to access it. But by the way, 4 of you actually also didn't submit it, so that will be an F. I hate to tell you, but if you can get back to me and talk to me about that. Okay, so and then on Monday, June 13th, the rewrite of the worksheets is due. Okay, and on Wednesday, June 16th, as I said, the new assignment that you picked is due. Okay, and again, for the rewrites, you can rewrite for a higher grade. If you got an R, you must rewrite, otherwise your grade changes to an F. But nobody got an A, so everybody should rewrite this. If you got a B+, I actually take that consideration. You know, when you don't do it, because I feel like, again, why wouldn't you? That's actually something you should do. Okay. Okay. All right. Just so you also know, by the way, I have a video. If you look under week 2, June 10th, let's see, Tom Davis news instructional video, and I provide a kind of more specific, and I provide a kind of also, well, actually more general idea, like what I look for in terms of like a news story and how to develop it. Okay, so I provide that to people as a little bit of a reinforcement, kind of like the book does, basically to what I talk about in class. Okay, the whole idea of like using like, you know, leads and transitions and anecdotes to help build your story, and then quotes to help provide color and humanization to the story. Okay. All right. And like I said, here is the discussion point. Please add to that. Okay. All right. So like I said, I wasn't going to plan on spending a lot of time on the book or much of anything. I just want to kind of give you guys a chance to kind of catch up. But I also want to like talk about the because you got a rewrite due on Monday now, and I know there's all this stuff is kind of overlapping, and that's kind of how this works. I mean, we have a very shortened class, very shortened period, so we do what we can. You know, it should now that we've essentially have our 3 assignments now out there, and with the 2 assignments almost completely done, we'll be able to have more time to do the last 3 assignments. Okay. All right, particularly the major assignment, which I'll be talking about in a couple weeks. All right, so giving away some answers here and everything. Here's what I was really looking for. I felt like, good job, Karen. I felt like you know, this was probably the closest to what I was looking for in terms of like, you know, good solid leads. I made a big point about talking about how numbers really matter in these leads. You know, this is it's a comma, but anyway, And you got to really kind of make a decision here, like what really matters to people, what really connects with people. Um, what is like, what, and no, yeah, what is like the biggest, newest thing for people to learn? Okay. So, I'm just about, like I said, just about all of these, the numbers really matter. The numbers provide context. The numbers provide some sort of shape of things. Okay. And to me, in this first one, it was really the 3 to 4 children die in the United States every day. So that's like revealing a new statistic that people didn't know about. That increase of 200,000, I feel like that almost kind of belittles this story a little bit. Not, I mean, I'm not trying to put anybody down at all, but I mean, when you go from 2.5 to 2.7 million, I mean, that's not, doesn't almost paints it like it's not much of an increase. But the fact that this could really resonate with people, 3 to 4 children die every day. That's like something I was really looking for. So right there, you have to almost put yourself in the shoes of like, I don't know, a parent or, or just somebody who works with kids or whatever, just deals with kids and loves kids and just that sort of thing. And just, you know, oh my God, this is a god awful statistic right here, just to learn that, and that was probably a few years ago. So it's probably, as I was a few years ago. So it's probably even worse now, unfortunately. Here's where like some big tests I would concern. I mean, not I was all these leads counted equally, but there were some where I felt like it was almost, I don't want to say obvious, but where the what they call the nugget, okay, the real theme of the story is there, and my God, if you don't get it, you missed it, okay. Like some of them, like like this one with the lighted cigarette on the sofa. I mean, that sounded like kind of like a typical fire, to be honest with you, caused by somebody who was irresponsible. So right there, I mean, I wasn't necessarily looking for something specific, but right here, I was looking for something specific. And when you think about it, I mean, like I said to Karen right here, and this is like one of the few errors she had here, if you want to call it an error. But I mean, there are a lot of people who protest, okay, and there's lots of places where there's thousands of people protesting that sort of thing. But how many times do you actually see people get arrested? Actually not as often as you think, and 150 of them. Okay, that's a lot. Okay, I mean, it's not. I mean, it's a fraction of the small fraction of this, but still, 150 people arrested. That's a lot. Okay, and oh yeah, that is the newest thing that happened. The first thing that happened was the protest. The last thing that happened, the newest thing, was actually the arrests. Okay, and the fact that they actually went to that step of actually arresting people, shows that this protest went beyond just a simple protest. It turned into a so-called crime event, if you want to call it that. Okay. I felt here like the robbing the person of the food. That was actually, again, something that really kind of stuck out, because how many times does somebody get robbed by food? Okay, here we got like 3 big ones right here. Okay. I said to people, wow, would you really want to like live in a state or town where you see it murders up by 53%? That's a lot. That's like 100 to 150. Okay. So if that number was missing, I made a point of saying, what? The number was missing here, a 10% increase in skin cancer. That's significant, okay? So, numbers matter, okay? This is a big one right here. And what I always do is I always like to go over this one because it's interesting, because there's a whole process, I would say, to trying to narrow and sharpen your story to a more specific, unique angle. Okay. And let's see what we got here. All right. So we have 71. I must go write this off the top of my head. Your old woman was charged with attempted murder, or attempting to kill her wheelchair bound cancer stricken husband because he, this would be allegedly ate her chocolate Easter bunny. Okay. Said. Right, that lead is a bit long. Okay, so it was an exercise in basically not just trying to find the biggest, newest, unique thing here, but also sharpening this so that this lead is readable. Okay, you don't want to people to have to take a breath in the middle of the sentence. Okay, so what you have to do is you almost have to. It's a good idea to maybe pick apart And one note, by the way, you really shouldn't put the person's name in the lead, okay? Unless it's somebody famous, okay? Because sometimes the name is maybe some name that's like hard to pronounce or something like that, and you trip over it. The main thing is what happened, okay? You can put the name in the second paragraph. I mean, it might become more important if it's a local newspaper and like somebody people may know or something. So yeah, that's understandable. But here, no, we don't need the name in the first paragraph. We don't ever need a name in the first paragraph unless it's like Joe Biden or Donald Trump or something, okay? Or as an entertainer or whatever, okay? What you have to do is you have to almost like take apart like the different elements. What do you need in this? What is essential in this story? Okay, what is the who, what, where, why, when? That's essential. I mean, the fact that it's a woman and she was attempted to kill. I mean, obviously those are I would say were pretty essential. Okay, but because it's so long, I think there's a couple of things in here that actually could go down into the next graph. But there's one thing that definitely cannot go down in the next graph, and I made a point of saying to people that if there's anything you're going to include in this graph, it's this point. But I'll get to that. All right, so you basically, one way to work it down is like, this is an attempted murder, okay? And how many attempted murders actually happen in the United States every day? Probably like, I don't know, thousands, if not more, right? So that's not, I mean, yeah, it is a story, but it's not the most unique angle. This is actually why it's important. We'll be doing this more when we get into the reporting end of things, beginning next week, by the way. And that's basically the whole idea of digging. Not just settling for what's what's on the what the police tell you and that's it. Sometimes they got stuff in their notebook that they don't like to tell you or like to leave behind, or maybe it's not necessarily because they're lazy, you just don't want to give the effort or whatever. They got a job to do, whatever. Okay, so you say, well, the question is like, well, how did that happen and why? You always want to kind of keep asking that question because you always want to find out why these things happen. It's so important. That's actually usually the crazy thing that happens in these stories is like the crazy that happens in the story. And you can't really find that out until you actually start digging. Otherwise, it's just a police report. Okay. I think the fact that he's cancer, in other words, he's sick. Okay. I mean, that might bring it down into the hundreds of cases because we've seen, and then, fact that like, it's, he's in a wheelchair. We've seen a lot of crimes against the elderly, unfortunately. So hundreds is still a very small amount compared to the rest of the population. Okay, but it's still not the most unique thing. This is the most unique thing. I say one. I can't think of another incident that's happened like that where somebody actually tried to kill somebody, their husband, because he ate her chocolate Easter bunny. That was really essential to have in that lead. Okay, that was the biggest, newest, unique thing to learn about. Okay, you always want to go for more. You always want to keep digging. And the next thing we actually talk about, which will be on Monday, by the way, it's a pre-recorded video, by the way, and that'll be due the following week. Will be our first assignment that deals really strongly with the reporting end of things, and it's going to require digging. Okay, like this, getting beyond just this part. Okay, and getting to this part. Okay, asking questions, keep digging, keep going. There's got to be reasons for why these things happen. I mean, as crazy as they're happening. Okay. Right here, I mean, right here, I mentioned to her, I mean, it's a 12% tuition increase. I want to know how much more I'm paying. Again, numbers matter. Okay. I want to know how much more I'm paying to like send my kid to school or something, or if I'm a kid and I'm paying my own way, I want to know how much more I'm paying. Okay. Okay. So that was the worksheets. Okay, just want to make sure I'm going. I showed you the structure. I think I froze a little bit. All right, and the discussion point. All right, so that's actually really it. I know this is a little shorter than usual, and I want to thank you guys very much. And let me know if you have any questions. So you got basically a schedule of things that are due. Okay, and like I said, on Monday, I'm going to have something all brand new for you. Again, I'll have like a guest speaker. His name is Bill Borden. Again, this is a pre-recorded video again. So, but we will, I will give you the instructions for that next assignment, which will be talked about on the video. Okay. All right. Thanks very much, guys. And I will be talking to you. I'll see you.